Hello coders. Complete change of plan. I was going to do the start of the sprint for How to Code Well for July as we're codewell.net today, but things didn't go well with Docker on this machine. Not a lot of things are actually starting to run well on this machine. I think it's old. Anyway, that's by the by. So instead of that, what we're going to do is continue on with our routing that we've going to try and do with the PHP registration course. This is a frameworkless website that I'm building, and if we get into the code, this is where we left off last week. So what we have here is our root class, and the idea behind this is that this class will have will hold a specific root, and we're going to have a router which will hold all the roots together. So the router is a collection, if you will, of roots. So we haven't built this yet, this class. That is what I want to try and do today. So let me there's a lot of things I got to consider and decide on this one, because there's different ways of doing it. So this router is essentially a class that holds an array of roots. That's essentially what it is from the ground up, really. So what we could do at the moment in these tests, we have we're skipping them. We have the ability to, or we would like to have the ability to match an invalid root, match a valid root. I think that they were the only two ones in here. So this is where you give it a request, and it would return the root in which the request is made to, or matches. So there needs to be some form of intelligence to match. And I have here like the setup. So you've got the router here, and then you've got the request coming through. So I've created an action, a controller, and a route and a request. So you've got the request path. Then you say router get root, passing in the request path. That will match the route that you've defined up in here to whatever this is. So /register would match to the second root here, right? And then what that would do is it would return the root that has the controller and the action. Now that's specified up in this part. So you have your security controller class, and you've got the action here. So then that would essentially be your controller and your method that you're calling. So you've got your controller and your action. And then what you can do down here is then say, well, this is the response. It's a new instantiation of that controller, and we're calling upon that action. And we could do some fancy things, passing in the request to get the arguments out of that. And then you would echo out that body. So that's essentially what was in my head last week. But what we're going to do today is just take it a couple of steps back from this and actually just build out this collection of roots. I think that's probably the best thing to do today. Let me just make sure I'm still streaming. I think I am. Good. Okay, so what we're going to do then is build this test. So, build this file. Now, the way I'm going to do this, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. So I haven't really planned this. Okay, so I'm just gonna try it. I think what we need to have is, obviously the constructor will take an array, and I think this array we also need to have the ability to add a root from outside of this array as well. So I think really the first test, I mean, we'll leave that there for for future planning and stuff. But I think what I'm going to do is just create a new test here, and we'll call it test add root, right? And what I'm going to do is say, right, we've got our router class, which we don't, it hasn't been created yet. This is a failing test, and we're going to instantiate a new router. And what we're going to do is not pass in anything yet. right? But we're going to do router add, and we're going to pass in our route that we're going to create. So like that. So the route, let's deal with that up here. Actually, the route we can just copy from one of these examples. So let's say I want to copy, let's say the home page. That's a straightforward one. Let's copy that. So we have our route is equal to this. Okay, and that we obviously need to marry these up with the the imports. Okay, so what we're going to do is then we're going to add that to the router. So normally what you would do is have that as an array in there, but I want to make sure that there is an add routine, because what I want to do is have the add routine check for the current routes to make sure that the same route hasn't been added twice, and we would do that by the name. And then the test would be to see if we can get that route. So what we would do is perhaps have a router get route, and we might have like a get route by name, and the name we would have would be the name that we supply. In this case, it would be homepage. And then that would return our route. So we'll call this, because this is test, we'll have actual. And then what we want to do is have self assert same. We want the expected is our route, and our actual is the actual one. So what we're essentially doing here is we're saying this needs to be exactly the same as this, and what we're doing is we're just adding it in like this. Now obviously this will all fail. None of this is known. So if I was to do a composer test PHP, I think I've called it unit. One of this will fail, and it will fail up here because this can't be found. So let's go ahead and start building this out, shall we? So let's go to the let's create a new class in here, and we call this our router. And we want to have a constructor, right? But we won't worry about the parameters yet. Construct, and it needs to be called a function. And this is going to take a private array of routes, and we'll just set that as default for now. But we're more interested in our public function, which is just add, and this needs to be a route that we're adding. And what this is doing is it needs to say this routes, get the route name, so route can we hang on a minute, what do we not have? Here we go, get name, and then we want to equal that to be the route. There we go. And then we'll return this. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Obviously we just return all this stuff. That will be self. There we go. What's going up on there? It's just, oh yeah, it's just read only. That's fine. So there's that. What's going on with this one? Expected one new line at the end of the file. There we go. It's just PHP my linter. Right, let's just run the test again. It will still fail, and this will be because the up here, yeah. Oh no, it can't find the router. Why can't it find? Did I not import it correctly? Probably not. No. Right, let's run this again, because we don't have that get routine. So yeah, get route by name can't be found. So what I'm thinking in the router then is we have a public function get route by name, and really I can already spot some refactoring going on here, but I'll do it in a minute. So we got string, which is name, and then what we want to do is if it'll be by key. So if key exists, name of this routes, then we return this routes with the name. Now there is a question over what do you do when you don't find a route. Technically speaking, that is a 404, but that's another test to expected one space after the if statement. Oh yeah, all right, fine. Yeah, whatever. And what's this going on about? Something else about the beautifier is a bit screwy. Oh, I'll deal with that in a minute. It's not a logic problem. So let's run this, and what have we got? We have 2 skipped, 1 is risky. This test did not perform any test route collection. Oh, hang on, where am I? Test add route. Okay, so no, that did pass. It's not looking like it's passed because there are skipped ones. What I think I'll do actually on the router is I'm going to comment out the whole thing, right? So it's because of these were marked as skipped. Let me just comment out the whole blocks because it's making it look like there's a failure. Oops, and there isn't. Sorry, let me sort that out. So there's that one, and then there's that one. Right, let's run it again. I like to see my green ticks rather than the what's the risky one. The risky one is on line 20, which is probably this one. Yeah, let me comment that out as well. Right, hopefully that will. No, there's still one risky. Test method is annotated with to do. Oh, for God's sake. To do complete test. Let's just put in a 1 or something to prevent that from being a problem. There we go. Right, I like my green stuff. So there we go. So that's passing. We need to think about how. First of all, there's a refactoring thing going on. I want to change that from get route to get by name. So because we already know that we're going to get the routes because that's the only thing this class is going to hold is the route. So there's no point in saying we want to get the route. So we'll just remove that from here. And then, so that is a bit of TDD there. Boom. Right. So let's now work on what happens when we, first of all, well, there's 2 things. One is what happens when we add 2 routes that have the same name. And the second one is what happens if we try and get a route that doesn't exist. They're the 2 points. Hey, hi from Bangladesh. Hello. I hope you're doing well. Right. Okay. So I guess what we should do is let's say, for instance. We kind of need a counter. I'm going to work on the one where we add multiple routes with the same name. So let's do test multiple test that test adding multiple roots with the same name throws error. Okay, so the idea is that we create two roots together. So we've got two roots. We've got root 1 and we've got root 2. And what we want to do is add root 1 and we want to add root 2. So we can do we could do that here. Add another root. So we call this root 2, like so. And what we want to find is that there is only one root actually in there. So instead of having a get by name, we will well, no, we want to throw an exception. Actually, we don't want to, because we don't want this program to work out which root to use. It could be the first one, it could be the second one. Like for instance, this could be like this could be like a list page, right? So list or show or something, and then this one could be index. This one could have a path of, say, foo, and this one's correct, right? So we want to throw an exception. So what we need to do is have we want to do all that, and then we want to do where should the exception be thrown? Should it be thrown on the add? I guess it should be, shouldn't it? So okay, up here we'll do self expect error message, and the error message is going to have duplicate roots with the name home page found, or yeah, okay, maybe no, so only one root with the name homepage can be used. Right, so we're going to add both of these roots together and or to the router, and we want it to throw an exception. So we're not actually doing any assertions. We want to expect an error message. So I'm going to run this again, and this will fail, hopefully. Yeah, and it's going to fail because we don't have that error message. So in our add routine, we want to check whether there is a root that has the same name. So let's do if this roots, or even better, if key exists. If key exists, root get name in this roots, then we throw an exception. So we do throw new exception, and the exception is going to be whatever that I've just said. So it's going to be that, obviously taking into account that that could be different. So let's concat that with whatever the that's not clever, is it? Yeah, there we go. It's the other way, isn't it, Pete? Come on, think about it. There we go. Right, this would be root get name. So that's the exception that gets thrown. Let's just tidy up those imports a second. Yeah, that's all good. Do I want to remove custom line breaks? Okay, fine. Right, yeah, so now we're only adding it if we don't have it. And yeah, I do need to put that on the end. So let's save that, and then let's go back into our test here. And oh, we've still got an error. What's the error? Failed a setting that the message only one route with the name homepage scan. What? So that's my typo. With the with the only one route with the name homepage can be used. I thought I did a copy and paste. And why does that look? Oh, right, wait. I see what I've done wrong. I have, yeah, there needs to be a space there and there needs to be an E there. There we go. Right, let's try that again. There we go. All right. So we got a little bit of validation in here. Let's pop that on there. Good stuff. Okay, so that's cool. We're starting to go through this. Let's add those as well. And let's tidy up this class. Good. Okay, so load changes. Run. Thank you. Right. Okay, so now we've added that. Do we want to deal with the path as well? Probably not. Probably not. I think the homepage key is probably the best thing. So, right. What was the other thing? Oh yeah. What happens if you try and get a route that doesn't exist? It needs to throw a 404. I don't know the best way of doing that. Well, I guess it would just throw an exception, right? So, okay, so our test here could be something like this, where we don't supply any routes whatsoever, and we actually do a get by name, and let's say this name should be this should throw a 404. So the error message should be something like no route found for no route found. Let's just say that, no route found. Okay, so this is to test 404 is thrown if, well, yeah, test if no route is found by name 404, then 404 is thrown. Right. Okay, so let's run this again. This should fail, which it does. And what we want on the get by name is we want to have a routine here to say that if it doesn't, so we're in this block, we want to throw a new exception, and this exception needs to come back with a 404. So in fact, well, we can do that in a minute. So this should be no route found. There we go. So that's fine. However, the test needs to actually throw a 404 status code, right? So if we did self expect, can we do status code, output string, error message, exception code? Yeah, so this should be a 404. But if we were to run this, this will fail because we have it equal to 0. So what we need to do now is to get into the get by name and change the, I think it's the second parameter, is it not? Yes. So it's the code. So in this case, it would be 404. So we run that. And there we go. Okay, so we're kind of getting there. We have a routine to add, and then we have a routine to get. The next one I'm going to do is deal actually with the constructor. Because we have that add routine now, we can loop through and add the roots to this array. And then we're going to refactor this array. So let me think about this for a second. Yeah, let's just grab that for a sec and paste that down into here. So instead of, this is going to be test add root by constructor. So instead of adding it here, what we want to do is apply it to as an array like this. And then we can do the actual get homepage. Now this is going to not work because I don't think it'll work. Let's just try it. It might work actually, because I have specified that constructor is an array. Oh no, it won't. No, it will work. This roots. Yeah, let's try it. It should be okay. He says no root found. Add root by constructor. Okay, so no, it didn't work. Right, let me work through that. So we're passing in an array of roots, and it's set to private. Function closing brace must go. Okay, fine. Let's just fix the whole file. There we go. What's this about? It's not read only. Oh, I know what's going on. So what we need to do is actually get this out of property promotion, because we need that to go through our add routine. Yeah. So, whoops, sorry. That's an array of roots, because we need to do for each roots as root, and we need to say this add root. There we go. Right, let's try that once more. It's still failing. Okay, too few arguments to okay, so this is failing because now we're saying that we want to supply roots, but now we're going to do a default roots. There we go. So that's all passed. Right, so what's going on with this? Let's beautify that. What's going on? That's good. Okay, so that's getting better. And yeah, there's a lot of throwing of exceptions going on here. So let's deal with those. Now, yeah. Now I want to refactor this array a little bit, because we are saying that this array has a definition of a root. You know, the items in here are actually things. So one way we could do this is by saying that actually this is like an array of objects, and we can define what those objects are. So let me just have a little think. Excuse me. I mean, we could just say, because let's my concern is if I was to do composer test right now, my concern is through PHP stan. I don't know, I could be wrong, it could be okay, but yeah, here we go. Roots type has no value. Yeah. So I thought that was going to throw a wobbly. Yes, so what we could do is have a root collection, maybe, or we could just say that that is just an array, and we could give it a type definition. The easiest one, I suppose, is to give it as a type definition. So what we would have here is like param array roots, and we would say that that is an array of root, maybe. Where have I done this before? It's in probably in the user bit. No, it's not in there. Where have I done this before? Is it in the manager? One of these. Yes, here we go. Of course it is. Yeah, it's that way of doing it, and it's off of the. That's the return. That's mixed. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna fail, right? Yeah. Roots type has no type definition. On line 9. Oh, up here. Yes. I'm not sure that's the right way of doing it. Probably isn't. No. PHP doc app var property roots with type root at root is not a subtype of native type array. Right, yeah. Yeah, native type of array. Yeah, give me a second whilst it needs to be an extension of array object, I believe. Yeah, I mean, a simple way to, an easier way around this is, let's just try that for a second. I don't think that will work, but let's just give that a go. All right, line 18 now, so up on here. This might work. If I can get away with not creating a class just to have this array, then I will. But has a parameter roots with no value type specified. Hey, on line 18, that's what I've just done. It's an array, and I've just said that it needs to. Oh, wait, that needs to. I've done it on the wrong side. There we go. Line 41 now down here is get by name. It's because there's no return. Now this would return a root. If it doesn't, it's going to throw an exception, so that should be fine. So I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We have a failure, and that's because it can't access the database, but that's fine. I haven't got that turned on at the minute, so it's not going to happen. So what we want is just the PHP unit tests. Good. Okay. So that's looking good. right, what's the next thing we need to do? I guess the next thing we should look at is maybe looking at how we match a request from like the server. Yeah. So what we need to have is some form of routine to match the route. Yes. So if we were to go down to this point, no, scroll up to this point, we've now done this, right? We now need to do sort of this, and the magic in this, there needs to be some form of matching here. So yeah. Now the question I've got is, do I do this at the router level, or do I do this per route? Yes, I guess what I would do is I would probably match. I would need to loop over my routes and then run a routine to match that, and then return true or false. So let's go back to the route here. Okay, let's go back to the route. Why are these all? Okay, fine. I'm not going to worry about that. Yes. So let's go back a bit and get into the actual route, because we'll loop over the router. We'll loop over the routes, and we will run some form of match routine to pair them up. So we income with a request, and we want some form of true or false sort of Boolean type thing. So let me think about this. Let me think about this. How are we going to get this? First of all, what are we matching on? We're matching on the request, we're matching on the path, and we're matching on the method, right? So there's two things that we need to match upon. Yeah, let's do it from the root point of view, yeah? First, because that's like the smallest unit of work. So from the root point of view now, what we want to do is have a public. Let me just copy this up here. We're on a public function, and we want to test. We'll call this match. I think we just call it match, right? Makes sense. See, if I was to say like match from path and method, then that implies that there's other things to match it to, and there isn't. Okay, so let's create. So we got a route here, and what we want to do is say that we have our path, and our path is equal to, say, / right? And we have our method, and that is going to be sort of like well, there's only one. You can only do one method per request, right? So this would be a get request, and we want to have like a so has matched is going to be a Boolean, and that's going to say route match, and we're going to pass in. Obviously, this doesn't exist yet. The path, and we're going to pass in the method. So this needs to be self assert true, right? So has matched should be true because we're passing in the path of / and the method of get, and the path is / here, and I believe what I've set up is a you can see it there. The methods are defaulting to get. So that should be correct. So this should return true, but it obviously won't because it's not set up yet. So we'll see. Yeah. So call to undefined method match. So let's go and build that out. So on match that we want here. So we do public function match. We would like to have, I guess, what would I call this? Is it path? It's certainly a string, right? So I guess it's string. Yeah, I guess it is path. And then we have another string, which is methods or method. Okay, so what we could do is say if this path equals path, oops, then that's a good thing. We obviously want to do this defensively, so we would say if, and this is going to return a boolean, right? So let's do this indefensively first, right? So if this path matches path, then we want to continue. Actually, no, I can't do this indefensively. We need to do this defensively. My head can't work like that. So if it's not path, then we return false, right? Boom. Then what we want to say is if we want to check the method. So if this methods, so we could do if in array this methods, and we need to pass in the key, so that would be, or the value, I mean. So this would be method. If the method is in this methods, if it's not, then what we want to do is return false. Otherwise, we want to return true. Now I need to write tests for those two cases up there, obviously. But this should now hopefully return true, which it is. Good. Now we haven't dealt at all with the fact that the path could actually have things like I don't know, user1 or user ID. You know, we haven't dealt with parameters, but one step at a time. Right, so let's test for these as well. So let's say in the root test, so this is test, let's do test valid match. Let's do another one where we want to, excuse me, test invalid invalid match of path, right? So that's our root. We're passing in the path of foo. That needs to be of. The method is correct, but this should return false, which it should do. Yes, it should. And then we'll do one where the method is wrong, right? So we do invalid match of method. So the path is correct, but the method is a post. So that again should return false, which it is. Excellent. Okay. So yes, that is half decent, I think, at the minute as a quick little matchy method. So let's go the next level above on the actual router. What we want to do is have a method in here to say, to say match, which then loops over all of the methods to match with that specific path and method, right? So in our router, in our router test, what we need to have is another test. So we'll do the unhappy path first. So test match test invalid path. Now this should throws a 404. Test invalid path. Test invalid match of path throws 404. Okay, so we have that should be thrown, and what we need to do is say, well, we've got all of you that we're gonna just copy from here. So that one. So that one, that's good. Let's get rid of that, of course. Is that good? What's going on? That doesn't look good. Why is that? Oh, I need to add. Okay, so there's our router, and then what we want to do is router. We want match. I think that's right. Do we want to call it match? I guess we do want to call it match. So we want to match the path of foo, because that's going to be invalid, and we want to pass in a get request. And that's going to return the root, or it's going to return a 404 or throw an exception. So our root here should not return, and that should, so let's just get rid of that. That should throw a 404. Now that doesn't exist, so that's not going to work. So let's just give that a go. No, it's not going to work. So in our router, we need to have a method called match, which takes a string, which is the path, and a string, which is the method. Yep. And then we want to loop over. So for each this roots as root. We want to do root match, passing in the path and the string, and the method, and we want to do has matched, and we want to say if has matched, then return the root, I think. Yeah. And then down here we want to say throw new exception, and this is going to be our no root found job. Now I think I've added that in 3 times already, so I'm going to need to do a bit of refactoring. Right, let's just run that again. That should hopefully pass. No, it doesn't. Failed asserting that exception method roots must be type of array. Hey? What? What have I done there? On line 100. Here. Oh, that needs to be an array. So it needs to be there we go. Right, it's an array of classes. Right, so let's run that again. Okay, so that's surprising. I thought that would have failed. We are passing in foo and our root. Oh, our root is foo. That's why. Yeah, that's passed. Sweet. Okay, so in test invalid match of path throws a 404. That's correct. We're going to do another test where we're passing in an invalid method now. Whoops. Oh, damn it. No. So yeah, let's paste that in there. So this invalid method throws a 404. So the path is going to be correct, but we're going to run a post request, and that should throw an exception, which it does. Okay, so now let's do the happy path. So let's grab that again, paste it into here. This shouldn't throw an exception now, and we should receive the root. I think we need to return the root, or we need to return like a boolean. I haven't quite worked out the end goal here as to how we're actually going to paint this to the page. Anyway, I think that's much too. I think that's quite far ahead. Let's create this. Let's create this as a variable. So let's just grab that out and say that this is the original is equal to you, and the actual is equal to you, and then pass in the original into here. So then this self assert same should be exactly the same. So our original and then the actual. Right, so let's run that again. That should pass. No, it doesn't. Cannot redeclare. Oh, sorry. So this is test valid. Test valid match. Right, let's give that a go. Right, no root found. What's going on here? Test valid match. Oh, duh. That needs to be a get request. There we go. Right. Okay. Good. So we've now created a little match routine that loops over all the roots that we've defined to then find the root that we want to match. I'm going to just quickly run compose a test because I want to just run through. Yeah, I thought there was a problem with the beautifier. Let's just run compose a clean to get rid of those. Yeah, and then let's run compose a test again. Don't worry if there's any SQL errors. I don't have the database running at the minute. But as long as PHP Stan is happy, oh, maybe not. No. Match has no return type. Okay. Okay, so this is line 50 on the router. Where is that? Oh, on not in here. In here. Line 50 on match. Right. Yeah, so we need to return the root, right? Or throw an exception. So let's just do that. Good stuff. Okay, so obviously it's failing on the database, but that's cool. That's just because it can't hit the database because the database is not there anymore at the minute. All right, so what shall we do next? I guess what we should do is look at this from a PSR point of view, right? Because at the minute I'm saying that it's just going to be a string of path and a string of the method, but it's not. It's not. And also, the exceptions are a bit funky. They really should be invalid arguments rather than just bulk standard exceptions with them with a funky status code. So let me think about this for a minute. We've got to deal with the PSR stuff. Now that would be coming down the line of from the router, right? So from the router on match, this will not be like this stuff. What we need to do, we probably need to do a bit of mocking actually. I'm just going to throw something together. It won't work, but I'm just going to throw something together. So this is going to be test valid. We'll do a happy path first. Test valid match from path, right? From request. All right, so that's our original and that's our router, and what we want to do is call another thing called match from request, and this is going to be our request method, and or the request coming in. So we need to define what that is. So the request coming in will have will be mocked, right? Because we need to mock this. So request mock is going to be equal to this create mock, and the original class name is going to be server. Just looking at my notes here, server request interface. Now we don't actually have this yet. I need to install it. Yeah, maybe we should install it. So it's a HTTP message. Do I have this actually on server request? It's coming out of PHP stan. But let's not use that. Let's install it. So there we go. Let's go to composer.json here, and what we need to do is we need to install. Well, we don't have anything in require. We got in require dev. Oh crumbs! I've just seen the time. It's 19:12. I need to shoot actually because I've got stuff I need to get on to do tonight. Maybe that's where we'll end it then. What I'll do is I'll create a little to-do up here so I know where I'm at. To-do install it's called server request interface from PSR HTTP message. Then we need to after that, what do we need to do? Create a test with mocked request, and create a test with mocked request. Yeah. Test. Create a valid and invalid test using a mocked request, using a mocked HTTP request. Okay, right. I think that's a good place to leave it. Can we get rid of these two? Match invalid request and match. No, we can't. Not really. That's essentially what we want to do. I'll just create a thing in here. Use HTTP mock. This is essentially what I was going to end up doing. Use HTTP mock. Okay, I will read that and do that later. Well, do that on the next stream. That's what we'll end up with, I think, next time. Cool. Right, thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everybody, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye bye. See you next week.